Tonight, President Biden plans to deliver a primetime farewell address to the nation. Earlier today, in a letter released by the White House, the president said that Americans emerged stronger, more prosperous, and more secure since he took office. For more, we're joined now by White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. Karine, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
President Biden, as you well know, has dedicated 50 years to public service. As he prepares to exit the White House and conclude his career, what's the message that he hopes to leave with the American people tonight?
Well, I think what you said in that letter that the president wrote that came out this morning with a fact sheet of over 100 pages laying out what he has been able to deliver for the American people in just 4 years. He's done more in 4 years than most presidents have done in 2 terms. And I think obviously I'm going to let the president speak for himself, and he'll have an opportunity to do that when he addresses the American people later today in the Oval Address, his final farewell speech. This is a president who's been in public service for more than 50 years, senator, vice president, and now president. And he brought the experience with him to get things done for the American people. And so he's going to speak from his heart like he always does. He's going to talk about the possibilities of this country, meet the moment, talk about the future of this country, and also step a little bit backwards and say and lay out what he's done the last 4 years. So I know he's very proud of what he's been able to accomplish and looks really very much forward to this moment tonight.
And yet, according to the latest PBS News NPR Marist poll, 50% of Americans disapprove of President Biden's job performance, 42% approve. How does he reconcile this gap between what he views as achievements, infrastructure investments, job growth, climate initiatives, and the perception that he's failed to deliver?
The American people have gone through a lot in these 4 years, and so we understand that it's going to take a little bit of time for them, for folks to see the impact that this administration has had. But there are facts. There's data out there to show that the work that this president has done, building an economy from the bottom up, middle out, has mattered. Making sure no communities are left behind has mattered. More than 16 million jobs created. Let's not forget, when he stepped in, thousands of people, more than 3,000 people were dying a day from COVID, and he had to turn that around very, very quickly. And I'll say this one last thing: the historic pieces of legislation that he was able to get through, whether it's CHIPS and Science Act, Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, the PACT Act, the bipartisan, like I said, Infrastructure Act, Inflation Reduction Act. All of those things, and you look at the provision, for example, in Inflation Reduction Act, they are popular. Insulin capped at $35, lowering prescription drugs, beating Big Pharma so that Medicare can really negotiate on lowering those prescription drug prices. All of those things are popular. And so he took actions that Americans really wanted, and we do believe it's going to take some time for Americans to see the full breadth of what this president has been able to do. But right now, our focus with 5 days left is to try and continue to run through the tape. What else can we do to make Americans' lives better?
I also want to ask you about the ceasefire deal that was announced today between Israel and Hamas. In the days that remain, what is the Biden administration doing to help ensure that this deal is sustainable?
So just to give you a 30,000-foot view for a second, this is the framework of this deal goes back to May of last year when this president put out the framework, got the endorsement of the world to move forward. And that is what we're seeing, that work from this administration, that work from members of his team working day and night to make sure that we get hostages home to their families, to make sure we get more aid into Gaza, and also to make sure we end this war. And so today is a great day. We are one step forward in getting that done because of this president's leadership. And so we have been, since the election, have been consulting with the transition team, the Trump transition team, trying to make sure that we are in line and making sure that there's not just a peaceful transfer of power, but also an efficient, effective transfer of power. And the president has led by example, has kept his word, and that is exactly what we're seeing. So the president is confident. We're going into phase 1 of this deal, and the president's confident that it will continue because of the groundwork that we laid out over the past 8 months. Now, 15 months of this war, and now we're getting to a point where we can finally end this war.
Lastly, Karine, you held your final White House press briefing today. You made history when you assumed the role of White House press secretary. How are you reflecting on your time with the administration?
It has been an honor and a privilege to serve in this administration. Lou, you look behind me and there is the White House. And I get to walk, for the past almost 4 years, I got to walk onto this campus, go into the West Wing, sit in my office, and do the work on behalf of this president, on behalf of the American people. And it has been the best job that I've ever had. And you know, the next thing I'm going to do, spend time with my kid. I'll have a lot of time to reflect and look back on these last 4 years, but we're going to run through the tape in the next 5 days and do everything that we can in our capacity and our power to make Americans' lives better. I know that's what the president wants us to do.
White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, thanks again for your time this evening. We appreciate
Thanks, Jeff.
And you can watch our live coverage of the president's address right here on PBS at 8 p.m. Eastern.